talk today about the law of assumption and how I used it to pass my life in the UK test. For you guys that don't know what a life in the UK test is, I'll explain. But first of all, let me just explain what the law of assumption is. I'll explain it twice. So the law of assumption posits that your belief and assumption shape your reality. By assuming a desired outcome as true, you attract it into your life. It's about believing in the power of thought to create your world. So, according to Neville, the law of assumption states that by believing the things you want already exist in your life, you manifest it into existence. The law of assumption is a positive thinking tactic that was created by Neville Goddard as a method of reframing one's outlook. So, basically, what it is just that your mindset creates your reality. So your imagination creates your reality. What the law of assumption does is just makes you live life in the end. I'll explain that. So you assume that you are already the person you want to be. You assume that you already have the thing that you want to have. So what had happened with me, I'd failed my life in the UK test. Okay. For you people that have never failed it, well done. I'd failed it twice. I failed it twice at that particular time and I just got discouraged. No, I think I failed it once. Let me not say twice. Sorry. I failed it once and I just left it because I have this problem, right? That when I fail something or when I can't do something, I just forget about it and leave it and then procrastinate and it goes on and on and on. And so I failed my life in the UK test and I just left it. So I was going to explain what the life in the UK test is. For those of you that are not British or that are not in the UK that do not know what it is, for you to become a British citizen, you have to do this test, which is called the life in the UK. And you learn the history of the UK and then you do the test afterwards, which helps you to later on become a British citizen. I know they do similar tests in the US. I don't know what they're called, but something like that. So I had to do this test in order for me to become a British citizen later on. So I failed it the first time. And so I just left it and I was fed up and I didn't want to do it. Besides, I didn't even have the money for it after that. It became a little bit more expensive and I couldn't afford it because I was going through a divorce. I was on my own. I just had so much going on at the time. I had no money at all. I had no money. Yeah, so I had no money and it was really hard. And I think that's about the time when I started reading Neville Goddard, the time I started reading Wayne Dyer, and I started reading all these books, Joseph Murphy, and I think the first thing that I read actually was The Secret. And I watched the video. Somebody gave me the book, The Secret. I don't know, they borrowed it to me and said, give it back. But I hope I gave it back. So my friend borrowed me this book and she's like, Charity, you need to read this book. It's The Secret. So I read the book and it talked about the law of attraction and everything. And while reading the book, I thought, I already practiced these things without knowing that it was the law of attraction. I already practiced these things, and sometimes maybe I'm more negative, so I receive more negative things, because the law of attraction says that you attract what you think about. So the things that you put out, it's the same like you reap what you sow, right? What you put out is what you get out of it. So if you're going to be positive, you're going to get out positivity. If you put out negative things, you get out negative stuff out of it. So I read The Secret, I watched the video, I was really into it because I was like, wow, this is so good, because it's something that I already practiced, but I didn't know that people put a whole word to it to say it's the law of attraction. I just thought it was just, I'm a Christian and I do these things. It's normal. You reap what you sow. Yeah. To me, it was just, I used to practice it without knowing that, it was called the law of attraction. And so when I wanted to do my test, I took all that I learned from The Secret, and then obviously having read Neville as well, I said to myself, I'm going to live as though I already passed my test. How do I do that? I don't have the money for it. I have not done the test yet. How am I going to do that? And so I just decided to live with the end in mind, right? End in mind. So, meaning that I've already passed the test. I don't have the money, but I've already passed the test. So, I'm leaving the end in mind. And so, what I did is that I took pieces of paper and I wrote, I've passed my life in the UK test. I wrote, congratulations, Charity, you've passed your life in the UK test. And I posted them all over my bedroom. So every time you walked into my room, you'll be greeted by this paper that says, congratulations, Charity, you've passed your life in the UK test, because I'm already living the end in mind, living the wish fulfilled. I've already passed this test. I've not paid for the test yet. I don't even know how I'm going to afford it, but I've already passed it. So I put on the back of my bedroom door the amount of money that I needed. So I needed an amount of money to do the whole process, but obviously from starting to the end, I put the amount of money that I needed. So I think at the time it was like 1,500, I think 1,200. Yeah, it was 1,200. So I wrote this 1,200 on my door, the back of my bedroom door. I wrote 1,200 for life in the UK, right? Life in the UK. 1,200 that I needed to do the whole process. So I put that at the back of my bedroom door. And then of course I put pieces of paper that says I've passed my life in the UK test. I'm so happy. I'm so excited because now I'm already British. And I was saying to my friends, we're gonna go on holiday. It's gonna be so much fun. I mean, like, we're already going to Spain. We're doing this, we're doing that. And I just lived the end in mind. And what had happened, my friend would tell you this. One of my friends came into my house one day, and she said, "Oh, can I put your daughter to sleep?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine. You can go and put Abigail to sleep." So she goes to put my daughter to sleep in my room, and she sees this number on the back of my door. And so she comes back downstairs. This is around 10 p.m. or something. She comes back downstairs and she says, "I've seen a number on your door that you want to do this life in the UK test." And I said, "Yeah, I really want to get my British citizenship, but I don't have money because of everything that's going on. I'm, going through separation, and I can't afford it." And so she says, "I'll give it to you." I said, "What?" She said, "I will give it to you. You have to do the application now. Let's start doing the application now." I said, "Excuse me, what?" She said, "I will give you this amount of money if you can find this amount of money. I'll give it to you and repay me whenever you're ready, or give it to me whenever you're ready. I don't mind." I said, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Get on with it now. Go get the application, do everything." And I mean, like, that very night, I go on the website. I think she actually did it for me because I'd forgotten about it, right? I just left it there and I forgot. So she goes on the website. She's like, "We have to do it now. We have to do it now." And we go on the website and get this application, and we start the application, do the payments. Like, I call my brother who was in London at that time, is still in London. And I say, "Oh, I need this amount of money to, make this work." And like right there and then he sends me